Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience. I'm your host, Aaron Alba. I have got absolutely amazing guests for you today. LeeAnn Walton is her name. I mean, she's the epitome of why I do what I do, where you could go from stroke survivor to stroke thriver and become a stroke warrior. And I can't wait for you to meet her. So we only got 30 minutes together. So let's get to it. Hold on. Let me be on camera. Welcome to Stroke of Genius Podcast Survivor Experience, where I believe mindset is the foundation of your recovery. I'm your host, Aaron Avila, a 13-year post-survivor of a brain aneurysm and stroke. Join me now as I share survivor stories of resilience and triumph around the globe. So without further ado, let's get to it. Well, good morning, LeeAnn, and welcome.
Thank you. Um, Thank you for having me on your podcast.
It is my absolute pleasure, honey.
You're
I
welcome.
heard you told me while we were in the green room that you got a little bit of snow this morning. Got 2 inches of snow.
Yes, we had snow here, and it's
You're coming in via. Uh, did you say where you from?
New York City.
New York City is awesome. You know, I every time I see you, I just smile. Honestly, I smile. You inspire me. You inspire me because you're a street survivor with the right attitude. And I want to break this show up into this podcast up into 2 segments. One, I want people to meet you as a stroke survivor
Okay.
and hear your stroke story. And two, I want to hear about the transition you made and give tips how you made it. Because there's so many people, so many strokes like that. Stroke survivors don't know that they have the warrior within them, the stroke warrior within them. Now, to also tell your books. I didn't want to forget to promote that. But let's get into it. LeeAnn, how long ago did you have a stroke?
Well, um, this February will be 5 years. I cannot believe it's been 5 years since my stroke. Um, I had a hemorrhagic stroke that um, was in my basal ganglia that crossed over into my thalamus. And I was a yoga instructor, never had any problems, was barely sick. I, green juices and, ginger shots and salads. I never in a million years would think that I would have a stroke and almost die. And I had my stroke while I was teaching my class, and I just felt really tired that day, and I was doing the warm up, and I heard a pop, and then I felt the blood vessel burst in my head, and I was teaching and also thinking, that is really
Sorry.
that's okay. I was like, that was weird. Okay, so I kept going and I'm teaching, and then it kind of went downhill. My affected my right side, so my right hand went at a really weird angle, but then it came back. My words slurred just for a second, and then I fell on top of one of my students
Oh,
and proceeded to vomit over
oh my goodness.
over again. I feel so bad for that poor student.
That's pretty bad.
All over her. So my stroke wasn't necessarily like the standard FAST, like the acronym. So I nothing ever bad happened to me. The worst thing that ever happened to me was I had my wisdom teeth pulled. So I am on the ground, completely shocked, trying to keep it together because I didn't want my students to start freaking out.
Yeah.
And the more that I sat on the ground, I just had this little voice going, "This is really bad." And I still didn't know that I had a stroke. And it was my students that saved my life because they called an ambulance to take me to the ER. If I was home, I would have just gone to bed and probably would have died. Um, my one of my students came with me in the ambulance, and the next thing it was like this nightmare. All of a sudden, I'm being carried into the ER, and just no one is telling me anything. And I remember closing my eyes because I kept thinking, this is just a bad dream. I'm going to wake
My goodness.
and everything is going to be okay. And every single time I opened my eyes, I was like, no, I'm not waking up. Wake up, LeeAnn. And then when I woke up 3 days later with the most, I never ever want to feel the level of pain that I felt when I woke up because I had a little bit of brain surgery. Because when you have an hemorrhage, they really can't do anything. And they put a burr hole, which is they take a drill and they drill a little section of your skull, and they put in a drain to try to reduce the swelling in my brain. And when I woke up, because I really fought for my life, they did not think that I was going to make it through. They thought I was going to have another stroke. I was going to like have seizures. And then I wake up with all these doctors in my face, and they're like, "You had a stroke and you're never going to walk again." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Ow.
Yeah,
Why
right.
am
Oh my
I hurt?"
goodness.
Okay. Now you're like, I've got people screaming at me that I had a stroke because I'm like, what is a stroke? And now and then also you're telling me I'm never going to walk again? I'm like, please sedate me. This is not the reality I want to wake up to.
My goodness.
So it took me a while to actually understand what a stroke was because I really was under the false impression that a stroke was like breaking a bone and that I would be okay in a couple months. And I remember my yoga manager, she kept calling, "Well, I'm in the hospital. I can't move my right side at all." And she's like, "So when are you coming back?"
My goodness. No.
I was like, I'll be back in 2 months. I got this. 2 months go by, and I'm like, make it another month and another month. And then finally, I just was like, I don't know.
The reality of yeah. They made you know I get to say something. I wasn't supposed to let but I was put in a separate room. My family is told to go and say goodbye to me, so I know what you went through. But but I hate. I'm not a big advocate of the word recovery because recovery gives you a false narrative, thinking they're going to heal from flu or a cold or a broken bone or something. That's not the way a stroke is. You know, it's really not. The reality that you had to find like a stroke square in the eyes really brought you into a different dimension of your stroke survival. Meaning, so I'm curious, you mentioned something in your statement. You said, I did not know a stroke was. So I'm assuming you You didn't know what it was. What happened to you?
I had no idea what a stroke was and what my journey was going to be like. I wish I had a caseworker who came in and talked to me like a real person to explain what a stroke was and what I was faced with. I had a priest come into
Oh my goodness.
and I'm not I don't I mean I'm spiritual but I'm not like the standard religious person and I was like, are you kidding me? You
Right.
my soul? I'm like, I don't need that right now. I need information. I don't need you to pray for my soul. You can pray for my soul, not in my room.
Okay, guys, you see why I love her energy. I mean, only LeeAnn could laugh at that. Hit the work, giving her last rites, saying goodbye to her, and give her, praying for her soul, and she's laughing about it. So, LeeAnn, thank you for your energy. I love your energy, honey. Thank
It
you,
took
good.
a couple years to get to the point where I could actually laugh about what happened to me. Um, but the first 2 years, I was not laughing at all.
Yeah, we're gonna. What I talked about in the beginning of the podcast because I sensed something happened to you, but you were a stroke survivor. You're a victim, stroke victim, really. You're really a stroke victim where you really lost hope and lost all kinds of stuff. But then something occurred, and I want to give a shout out to if I can because I made a short of a podcast you're on. And I want to give the lady that your podcast, y'all, Christy Peter's podcast host, Flip Your Script on YouTube podcast. So go, I want to encourage everybody, if you want to hear stories of inspiration, go to Flip Your Script podcast on YouTube. Subscribe to Chrissy Peel's podcast. But I wanted to give her a shout because I may create this. Before we go into this, here's LeeAnn's little shorter meter.
And it wasn't until I realized you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it.
And that is the transition period that you went through, I guess, where you realize, hey, I can react differently to this. And you did. Tell me a little about the transition from stroke victim to stroke warrior, really. Became a stroke warrior by you, for people that don't know. And I'll put the links in the description. LeeAnn is also CEO and founder of Stroke Warriors Inc. So please tell people there your story about transitioning from stroke victim to stroke warrior.
First, Christy is a wonderful person, and I love her podcast because it's
Yeah,
all very inspiring stories. So I was honored to be a guest on her.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Me, was there like a song or a movie or a poem or something that kind of flipped my script? And I used to read a lot of poems when I was teaching yoga. And when I came across this poem when I decided to go back to teaching yoga because I was like, I'm a very determined person, huge following, and that was my identity. And I think for 2 years it was really hard because I wasn't that LeeAnn anymore, where I was teaching all these classes. So a lot of things that I said in class came back to me, and I'm like, now I gotta walk the walk and talk, talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah.
There's this poem. It's called "The Storm," And I found it, and I remember when I read it, I just cried because they talk about when you enter a storm, it rages all around you. And my storm, my stroke, was my storm. And I hated my storm. I fought my storm. I tried to make, I'll go. I will go to church if that, you know, will help me with my recovery. Then it says that you can't do anything about your storm, but you can. The only thing you control is how you respond to your storm. And I thought to myself, for 2 years, I was mad. I thought I was a victim. I'm like, I don't understand why this happened. They still do not know why I had a massive stroke. And I'm like, I can be a victim, or I can control the way how I respond to what happened to me. And I just,
LeeAnn, I want everybody that watches this video, because this applies to every stroke survivor, a brain injury survivor out there. Any bit that's come through any traumatic event. Say, could you please repeat that one more time? Could you please repeat that?
yes, because I know a lot of stroke survivors, they they think they're a victim. And you don't you get trapped in that mentality. You can't do anything about what happened to you, but you can make a choice. You can stay in that space of I'm a victim, or you can make the decision of I'm not going to be a victim anymore of what happened to me. Instead, I'm going to own my power, and I'm going to be a warrior, because I'm like, I have been through so much. So much. I'm like, I have a freaking hole in my skull. That's like my new party trick. I do crazy like yoga poses. Now it's like, does anybody want to touch the hole in my skull? So
I have one too. I know it's not, that's a war one, no doubt.
yeah.
But I want what I really am, what is really, really amazing is that you also realize, and this is a big, but it was one thing that I was to pick on my platform, Show TV Media and this podcast. Strokers doesn't make you who you are. It doesn't identify you, but how you respond does make you who you are. And I want you to know out there, a stroke survivor, it is not. You cannot help your storm. You can help your right. You can help your storm. You can just how you respond that makes you who you are. Really, it's amazing. So amazing.
And that's why I'm trying to change the narrative and really help other stroke survivors to get out of that victim, you know. I'm like, because one, I really think that it's your attitude and motivation, determination to try to heal. And I know stroke recovery is not linear. Trust me. I was like making strides, and then I'm like, something new like crops up. And I'm like, what's this? I was so close. Why? And, but I've learned that this is my life, and there are certain things that might crop up, and I just have to deal with it. And I'm not saying that I'm strong every single day. There are certain days where I get really frustrated because I want to do certain things, but I have to listen to my body and know that, okay, I can't. I need rest, and that's okay. And then there are other days where I get mad or I cry, but I let myself feel those feelings because they are genuine. But I don't let myself get stuck in that mentality. And what I really helps me is gratitude.
Oh my goodness.
Is you latch on to gratitude. There was one day, like 2 weeks ago, where I was just really depressed because I wanted to do something and I couldn't, and I was like, this is the worst day ever. And then I went to bed and I was trying to change the narrative in my brain. And I was like thinking of all the things that happened, that I ran into somebody and they made me laugh, or somebody sent me a really sweet message that made me smile. And then I started thinking, I didn't have a crappy day. I actually had a good day. Because all these wonderful things happened to me, and I wasn't in the mindset to recognize that wonderful things happened during my day. It's just I was so stuck in being depressed. And I always tell my followers, you gotta latch on to gratitude. Life is so short. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone. And live your life. You are going to have great days. Embrace them. You're going to have not so great days. Embrace them. That's life. And life isn't always sunshine and lollipops.
Yeah, I, I agree. I mean, I get, there's something out there. It's so funny because you speak my language. Gratitude is, if you coach your mind in gratitude, you'll never have a down day because you'll be grateful for something. But LeeAnn, you mentioned about using gratitude. Can you say you're grateful for your stroke?
I'm grateful for my stroke because in some capacities on certain days, but overall, I think my stroke, like when you first have a stroke and you can't move, you're kind of stuck with just yourself and your brain and your narrative. And I'm sorry. What was the what was the question?
No, I was just curious because you talked about gratitude and you being grateful for your stroke, like me, because it gave me a second chance being a better person.
Oh,
And I think Eric experienced the same thing.
I remember. Okay. In a way, a good thing, because I really thought about the person who I was before my stroke. I was a yogi, so I was under the impression that, oh, I'm such a good person, I'm so healthy, nothing is going to happen to me because I'm a yogi. Well, that's not true. Things can happen. You can't, you, you can eat really well, you, but things are still going to happen. But I realized if you weren't in my yogi world, you didn't exist. And I worked far too much where I wasn't living my life. And I realized I thought I was grateful about life, but it wasn't. I wasn't. Now I really get how precious life is. I'm a more compassionate person. I'm definitely a more outspoken person now, because before my stroke, I was a people pleaser and I struggled with saying no to people. Now I'm able to create healthy boundaries. And if people push me to do something and they keep pushing me and keep pushing me, I just say no, no. And I'm like, I'm a stroke warrior. No, I'm not going to do this. And I'm not doing this because, and I say it in a nice way, but I stand up for myself and I stand up for other people now even more. And I think those things really helped change me. And if I didn't have my stroke, I don't think I would have understood those lessons. I think I would
Wow.
have been a person.
Yeah. I agree. I'm totally agree. That's, yeah, I mean, like energy attracts like energy. I could out the camera, and I experienced the same exact thing to where, but you went from stroke victim, stroke warrior, then you wrote a book. Tell me about your book.
I did. And I wrote my book for every stroke survivor in this world, for any TBI person. My book is dedicated to all of them. And my book, I wanted to write about my journey. And it took me almost 4 years to write it. And it's not that long. It's not even like
Oh my God.
100 and some pages. But I wrote it, and I was very, very honest about what
What,
I went through.
what's
And
the title of your book?
every stroke survivor has a warrior within.
Oh man, yeah, that's big. First of all, put the links in the description to Amazon to purchase it. Repeat the title one more time because that is a winner.
Every stroke survivor has a warrior within. Because, you know, every stroke survivor does. And sometimes they don't know it. And they have to tap in. I mean, what happened to us is something that the rest of society, they don't get, that what we have to deal with every single day. And when I was starting to write this book and trying to think of a title, I'm like, I have been through a lot. I have a hole in my skull. you know Not everybody can handle what we go through. And a person that has gone through, it's like we went to battle. And some people, we go through, it's like every day it's a battle. And I'm like, and to kind of fight every day requires strength. And it's a warrior spirit where, some people, they give up, others were warriors. We own our power. And it's not the worst thing if you latch on to gratitude and transform yourself, and finally I realized I had to let go of the old LeeAnn and create a new LeeAnn, because my identity, stroke survivors, we lose a lot. And one of the things that we lose is our sense of identity. And I identified myself as a yoga instructor. And when I was not able to teach yoga like the way I used to, it was really hard for me. And I said, I've got to let go of the old LeeAnn and create a new LeeAnn. And everyone tells me, technically, I should have been dead. I should have died. But they said, you survived for a reason. And for a while, I was thinking, I was like, all right, can somebody tell me what my reason was? And so I started writing this book, and then things just started coming out of me when I wrote this book, where I talk about a lot of things. I talk about the lack of humanity in hospitals and the things that they say to stroke survivors, which is horrible. They should, first of all, waking up and telling me I'm never going to walk again.
Yes, God.
You should never say that, because you never know. Anything is possible. And you know what? I'm walking. I don't walk like I used to walk, but I can walk, and I proved my doctors wrong. And I went back to teaching. So I lasted 2 months, but I taught. And then once I published my book, I thought I want to do something that is meaningful in my life. And my legacy that I leave behind is that I try to make a difference in this world. And that's when I got this idea of I'm going to start my own nonprofit. And I started the nonprofit. It's called Stroke Warriors Inc. And because I was
Brilliant name, by the way. Stroke Warrior Link is brilliant.
Stroke Warriors Inc. Yes, because one, I want to change the narrative. I want stroke survivors to embrace their power and to fully acknowledge everything that they've gone through and give a space for stroke survivors to be seen and to be heard. I talk about discrimination against stroke survivors in my book. I talk about suicide in my book. And those are very important topics that nobody wants to talk about. And I was like, well, it's my company. I'm going to do what I want to do. And so it's absolutely wonderful. We launched in December. I think it was December 1st. And our social media handles Stroke Warriors Inc. On Facebook and Twitter. Though I'm not Twitter, Instagram. The Instagram is slowly growing, and it's wonderful to go to that page and see and hear stories of stroke survivors. And it's like so many people gravitate to the IG page, and they're inspired by some stories, or they can relate, and they cheer people on. There's like such a supportive environment. And then I was also angry because when I was discharged from the hospital, they said you have a very challenging journey ahead.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what do you mean, good luck?
All right.
Tell me something, anything. And they didn't give me anything. Not a
I do.
resources. And, and I had to learn to be my own advocate. And I had to do my own research when something started happening to me. I'm like, my brain surgeon, who is an Ivy League trained doctor, I would email him, and his response is that's weird. I'm like,
Gosh. Oh,
an
God.
Ivy League response. Okay, and then I would do research, and then I would email him back and be like, yeah, it's called spasticity is what I have, and I know you know what that is. So part of the reason that I started Stroke Warriors Inc. was I wanted to give resources to other stroke survivors everywhere, because every stroke survivor that I talk to say the same thing, that we're discharged and then we're forgotten about.
That's it.
And that makes me angry. And I'm like, I'm going to create my own little resource so stroke survivors can go and read literature and listen to stroke survivors' stories. We have every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a support group. And I always encourage people, please just try it, because you might have great friends and family that support you, but they don't really get what we're going through. And to talk to other stroke warriors is very important.
Now, you said every Friday. So, what time and where? In case viewers want to attend. I mean, where?
1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go to strokewarriorsinc.org. That's our website. Go to events and sign up for the support group. I actually have, and I became very good friends with him. His name is Fred. You might know him, but he lives in Australia, and he gets up at 5 a.m. to attend the support.
That is awesome. I do have one. We're running out of time, but I do have one question. I wanted to leave people out there, so other stroke survivors, because I want them like you to become warriors like us. Because you believe? All right, I know I shouldn't ask. That's kind of rhetorical, but you believe, like I, that every stroke survivor has a warrior within. I believe it. I think your book title is brilliant because I think everybody has it. But if I was to ask you, LeeAnn, give advice how someone could go from being a big stroke victim stock to a stroke warrior, how would they do it? Where would they start?
Well, what helped me was I realized at one point that my family was not going to get my stroke, and I could not depend on them as a support system. I needed a support system. So I started reaching out to stroke survivors. And what is really important is to have a support structure. Maybe it's your friends, maybe it's your family, but it is vital that you know and are friends with other stroke survivors.
All right, so I want to encourage everybody. Every Friday, you said one East Coast time, right? Go to Stroke. What is your website?
Warriors Inc.
Name down, down.
Go to the events page, sign up, and I will send you a link um, to the meeting. It's every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everyone is welcome. I think this week we have a caregiver that is going to be on the call, and a TBI person. So I mean, all are welcome. And you know, I was telling people yesterday that you can be on a call and you share something, but you don't know who else on the call and might really need to hear your share, and that can change their day.
Wow. Everybody wants the end. Well, the time we're actually overtime, but I want everybody. Here's your challenge for today: find the stroke warrior within inside you. Stop letting us total lie to you and tell you have to be a victim. You don't. You can shift your mindset. You can, like our friend Christine Peel says, you can flip the script, take it from stroke victim, stroke warrior by flipping your mindset and change your mindset. Dan, it was an absolute pleasure. I hope you come and visit me again on the podcast. Thank you so much. And let's go before I leave. How do people reach out to you? Please give your social media handles one more time, please.
Okay. Well, actually, you found every single way to contact me. LinkedIn, My social media on Facebook, it's just LeeAnn Walton. Then you can also reach me on Stroke Warriors Inc. Facebook page. You can find me LeeAnn Sung Walton on Instagram. That's my own personal account. If anybody emails me, I respond. It might take me a day, but I will get back to every single person. And that was my commitment, and I keep it.
What
And
is your email?
oh,
Huh?
if you want to reach me, you can email me at strokewarriorsinc@gmail.com. You could send me a message on strokewarriorinc.org. You could send me a message there. And also, you can send me a message on Stroke Warrior Inc. IG page.
The,
And
that's so awesome.
like you did. So,
Now, I found, just so people know, I found Leanne on IG on Instagram, and it was amazing. And there's something about the energy she has. She knows every time I see her, I put I love your energy because I think energy is awesome. But I want everybody to walk away, or I feel like me in a wheelchair, roll away. But you don't have to be a victim of stroke. You can rise up as a warrior. You can. And I think it's mindset, right? It's a mindset.
it is. It's a mindset. And you make a choice. I used to tell my students every single day in class, I'm like, you have a choice every single second on your mat. Is if you're new to my class and my style, you can resist and hold your breath and be like the way that I'm moving you, and that's your choice. Or you can take a moment and breathe and try it on and let yourself go and get out of your head and transform yourself. You're going to be a different person if you do the latter. You're going to be a different person than when you walked into my class and the person who walked out of class and let all the junk in their head go and just breathe and move. So that's what I tell stroke warriors. You got a choice. You can be a victim, or you can say, no, I'm a powerful being. I survived death. How many people can say that?
That's it. That is the key, right? That guys, Stroke TV media agrees. I think mindset Leanne should be the very first therapy you have in the hospital to teach you how to adjust your mindset because that really is the key to stroke survival. Become stroke warrior, stroke thriver is your mindset. And I want to encourage everybody else. I'll put all the links that Lee and I just talked about in the description of the video. So please do that. Leanne, do you have any final words for you in this podcast?
Oh, I have so many things to say.
I know.
One of the things that I'm working on with my website is I have a resource page. So I'm looking for clinical trials at hospitals around the world and then posting them so people can have access to them. And having a stroke is not a death sentence. And I'm slowly learning that there are these absolutely wonderful places that stroke warriors or people who are disabled can do. I went upstate and I went and enjoyed the woods. I never thought that I could go hiking again, but I found this place called Nora with an amazing person, this amazing guy. And it doesn't matter if you have money or you don't have money. All you can still go. And he's got all these different types of chairs that you can sit in, and there's all these paths that you can go and enjoy the the great outdoors. And it was amazing because I never thought that that was possible. And so I you with anything is possible, and I'm going to find all these places for everybody.
Yeah, give me that link. I'll put the links where that is in the description video. LeeAnn, we're out of time. I thank you so much for being there. We do. I want to give a thumbs up to Jamie Parrish, who's in the United Kingdom, and he's out there saying, giving you thumbs up. So it's been an absolute pleasure, LeeAnn. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for being here. You are a true stroke warrior.
Thank you. Thank you so
All
much.
right, bye, LeeAnn.
Bye.